So I've been playing around with some different camera setups to see what is the best. I did a couple earlier and it's kind of frustrating because I'd get one view really good, but the other one I couldn't really see anything, or just the top of my head would be in the picture. It was hard to get it balanced just right. So I think I've kind of settled out that the best overall view is probably just to have one camera looking out the window and looking at the screen, and then if I use a second one, it would be one looking toward me, so that maybe it's a little bit better for the just the visual of me trying to communicate what I'm saying. So we'll see how this one works out. I'm just going to tap on the screen here, go to CVS.
In 500 feet, turn left onto Fort Street.
Once that's programmed in there, all I gotta do is do one tap down on the stalk. The little steering wheel turns blue, which tells me that FSD has taken over. And for anybody that hasn't seen this yet, you'll see that when the blinker comes on, your blind spot camera for whichever side that your blinker's on automatically comes on. And I realize on the main screen, this screen is kind of small on the main recording, so I apologize for that. I was looking for a way to try to zoom in just on the screen for one portion, but I think you need a little bit more in-depth editing software to be able to do that within the screen. I have seen some people have a dedicated camera on that screen and then do a picture-in-picture, and that was also a little bit complicated too, trying to get that angle just right without blocking the view of the other camera. So I think it may be better just to have it in the picture with the windshield. Anyway, so you'll notice about every 30 seconds to a minute it will pop up on the screen to have a slight movement on the steering wheel, and that's just another way for it to make sure the driver's attentive, paying attention. And you may see me reach up and flick up or down on this scroll wheel, so that will also adjust your speed without having to either disengage or use your foot on the accelerator. There's that message about the slight tug on the wheel. So yeah, I use full self-driving every single day. Most of my drives, I do very little, if any, of the driving as far as just point A to point B. It won't yet pull you all the way into a parking place and park. That's coming, and it will park for you, and it will navigate a parking lot to some extent. So there's still that piece to put together at the end of the drive where it gets to your final destination, pulls in, finds a spot, and parks. Right now it will get you to your destination as far as to that address. Typically I'll take over to pull in and navigate to where I want to be in the parking lot. And I go ahead and park myself right now. There is a feature where you can tap on the parking spot that you want and tell it to go, and it will pull up and back into your spot for you. Not super usable right now. You can still park yourself faster than that, and since it's not completely integrated with the drive, it's really more of a hassle than just parking yourself at this point. But once that's integrated to where you just tell it where you want to go and then you just let it go all the way to your parking place, that'll be kind of nice. We'll be headed up to Birmingham tomorrow for a concert we bought tickets for my son's birthday a while back, and I'm looking forward to that. I've never really been much of a road tripper. I like to travel, but I don't like driving that far. But I will say, and this seems kind of counterintuitive because a lot of people that are not that familiar with electric vehicles just assume that they're great for around town, your commuter vehicle, whatever. But a lot of people assume that they're not good for road trips because of the range and having to charge. But I will say, after driving this one for over 20,000 miles in less than a year, a lot of that being road trip miles, it is amazing to road trip in a Tesla. Now, I can't speak for other EVs. This is the only one that I've ever owned, but I do know that one of the bigger complaints about some of the other ones is their charging infrastructure.
1,000 feet, turn right onto South Bronnon Stand Road.
A lot of the generic chargers are not that reliable, and in some of the other EVs, when you're having to use those generic charging stations like ChargePoint, EVgo, there's some other ones out there.
Turn right onto South Bronnon Stand
But
Road.
one of the biggest complaints is they don't really talk to each other. So you may know where that charger is and kind of have that planned out, but you might get there and 3 out of the 5 may be under maintenance, and one of them may be broken, and then the other one may have somebody charging at it, and then you're just sort of stuck there waiting until that one opens up. With Tesla supercharger network, number one, they're extremely reliable, 99-point-something% uptime on those chargers, but also everything is integrated. Everything talks to each other, so the superchargers talk to the fleet of Teslas, the Teslas feed back to them. So if you've got 8 chargers at a station and 4 cars are charging, if I'm on the way to that charger, I know I can look on my screen and see exactly what to expect. I can see there's 4 chargers left. If one of them happens to be down for maintenance, it'll tell me that. So I know exactly what to expect when I get there. And just the way the charging is integrated in with the navigation is really, really seamless. So, I don't have to go in there and say, okay, well, I know there's a charger in Prattville, so I need to factor that in. It does all that for you. So when we leave for Birmingham tomorrow, before we leave the house, I'll just punch in my final destination, and if we're making a stop that we know of for lunch or whatever, we can punch that in too, and you can plan all that out ahead of time, or you can add it while you're going. Either way, the charging stops will automatically pop in there. So what I'll do, because the cheapest way to charge is at your house. I can charge at my house for my regular residential rate, which is really low, and I'll go ahead and charge it up to 100% tonight, and that'll save me from probably having to stop at all. If I do have to stop, it'll be just for a few minutes, and it'll automatically pop that in there. And before I ever leave, I can look and it'll tell me, hey, at this time you'll stop at this charger. You'll only need to stay for whatever it is, probably 5 or 10 minutes at a minimum. It'll just give you like the whatever your bare minimum that you have to charge. Obviously, you can sit there a little bit longer if you want some more margin, but it'll tell you exactly what to expect. Hey, you're going to get here at this time. You'll charge from this percent to this percent. It'll take this long, and you'll be able to leave as soon as X time, whatever it may be. And so your expectations are built in. Hey, we're going to stop in Prattville for 10 minutes. Most of the time when we're on a longer road trip, if we're going to Tennessee or over to Atlanta or wherever we're going, we'll just plan our stops around those charging stops, for one thing. If we're going to make a lunch stop, we'll just eat lunch near that charger. If it's not convenient to do that, we may make that a restroom break or a snack stop, depending on where it is. But it really is super convenient, because the combination of the full self-driving, which takes pretty much all the driving fatigue out of it, all the mental fatigue, you're just kind of supervising the system, but that's about it. There's not a whole lot of extra mental gymnastics you're having to do for worrying about when your exit's going to come up, and I don't know, there's navigation out there. Had Google Maps long enough to know that you don't have to mentally keep up with exactly where you got to go, but there's still the little things of, am I in the right lane before I make this turn? When you get down into a downtown somewhere and you're trying to figure out, all right, this is a one-way street, I know we got to get up here and make a left, but can I turn here? It takes all of those little mini stressors out of there. None of those are that big of a deal, but it really is more than you think. It's more than you realize when you are somewhere that you're not super familiar with, and you're able to just let the car do it. And as long as you're monitoring it, you're making sure that it's not doing something illegal or stupid. It's not perfect yet. It does dumb things occasionally. More times than not, it's just stuff that's inconvenient, things that may slow down the line of traffic and make somebody mad behind you. And that's 99% of the time, my disengagements are more related to I don't want to get somebody honking at me because I'm waiting too long at a yield sign or something, you know, more so than it actually doing something like
now your destination
physically
is on the
wrong.
left.
And I'm just about to go through the drive-thru at CVS. You can see it turned into the parking lot here at CVS, but basically it's just taking me to kind of the address center. So it would, you know, if I just let it go, it's going to stop here in just a second. So I'm going to go ahead and disengage here and then take it on around. I'm just going to go through the drive-thru. And I'm not going to bore you while I sit in the drive-thru, so I'm going to pause the video here and I'll pick back up once we... All right, got what we came for, and now we're headed back out. So now that I'm headed back toward the house, all you have to do if your home is already programmed in here as your home location, you don't even have to try to punch in the address every time. You just tap in the navigation box and swipe down, and it'll take you either to home
turn left onto North Brown and
or
Stand
work.
Road.
And actually, it's kind of funny, it defaulted to work, I guess because I'm closer to home. But anyway, there we go. And then again, just single pull down on the stalk, and it's got it again. So it's going to pull out on its own. And join the queue here. And it's like I was saying on the road trips. It is a combination of a lot of things, because you know, yeah, you do have to. There's specific places you have to stop. You know, there's not a charger on every corner like there are gas stations. So it's just a little bit different mindset. When you're driving a gasoline car, you don't really think about where you're going to stop until it's really time to stop. And I've been there multiple times where you get down and you got, you know, just a couple miles left, and you're like, oh man, I need to get gas. And you don't realize it. You kind of take it for granted, and then when you need it, all of a sudden you're like, man, I don't know where the next gas station is. It kind of, there's some anxiety there too. Just like people have range anxiety when they start thinking about an EV and where can I actually charge. So there's a little bit of, you know, a little bit on each side, I guess. But in an EV, you know ahead of time where you're going to stop, and so it takes some of that out of the way because you've already got it planned out, and it's already built into the navigation. So it's not like you're going to miss it because you get distracted or something. Yeah, so it routes all that out for you. It's pre-planned, and then it really happens quicker than you think. If you stop and you need to be there for 10 minutes, by the time you get out, plug it in, and you know, run in and grab a snack or go run by the restroom, even just stretching your legs for a minute, all of a sudden, you know, it's telling you, hey, you don't need to charge anymore. You can get back in. A lot of times, it's already been over the amount of time that you had to stop for. And because the superchargers are all interconnected with the vehicles, as far as in the Tesla network, it already recognizes the vehicle when you plug in. So there's no swiping a card. You don't have to punch in any numbers. You don't have to do anything on the app. You literally just back up to the charger, plug it in, and then walk away. Or get back in the car. If you want to get back in the car, you've got an array of software stuff in here. You can watch Netflix, YouTube videos, Hulu. You know, there's lots of different apps on here. Disney Plus, if you have that, ESPN, whatever. You can pull it up and have a game on, or be playing a video game on screen, and that'll eat the time up real quick as far as when you're charging. I'm trying to think what else to talk about. Yeah, I've absolutely loved it. Anybody that knows me knows that I would recommend it to anybody, and I do. I do have a Cybertruck on order because I am looking forward to having a truck again. I've always had a truck ever since I started driving. I had a truck, and this is the first time in my life that I don't have one. It was my daily commute to work. I don't really need it for daily driving, but I do miss having a truck. So
in 500 feet, turn left onto 4th
I'm looking forward to having a truck again. But I would recommend a Tesla of any kind, whether it's a truck or one of the SUVs or one of the cars. Highly recommend them to anyone. I would say the only case that I would say don't get an EV is if you're routinely hauling a heavy load. EV's not the right choice. And I think that's pretty obvious to most people by now. For one, it eats into your range tremendously. Now, obviously, if you're hauling a heavy load with a gas car, your gas mileage is going to be way worse. I mean, that's going to be true. Gas car versus EV doesn't matter. But for EVs that already have less overall range than a typical full gas tank, it really takes a big hit when you load it down with with a full trailer. Now they're excellent towers. If you've got a short distance to go, they'll tow. Even this Model Y has got a towing package, and it can tow like 3,500 pounds or something like that, which is pretty hefty for a relatively small SUV. Because the DC motors and a big battery, they've got plenty of torque to handle it. But where my car normally gets 320, 330 miles on a full charge, with a heavy load back there, it's going to cut that easily in half. Which 150 miles is still a pretty good ways to go. But if you've got a very large trailer, you're trying to pull a fifth wheel, or a cattle trailer, or some big heavy construction load, it's probably just not worth it for that type of work. Or if you're doing it every day, if it's your daily work is to haul a heavy trailer around, EV is probably not the way to go. I would say it's definitely not the way to go. But for 99% of the people who are driving their vehicle to and from work, 20, 30, 40 miles, maybe more, even if it's 100 miles, one way, something like this is perfect. I mean, you don't need something that's going to have make you have to go 500-600 miles before filling up for 99% of what most people do. It's certainly plenty for me, and even on road trips all around the Southeast, has not been an issue whatsoever, as far as ever being worried that I'm going to get stranded somewhere without being able to charge, or being just really inconvenienced by having to stop for 10 to 15 minutes instead of 5. But it's just really been the most enjoyable vehicle to drive overall of any vehicle I've had. And I've not had bad vehicles. I've had several Toyota trucks and a couple 4Runners, loved them, and no problems out of them. But just the overall driving experience that I've had with this car has been by far the best. So I would highly recommend Tesla in particular to anybody who would be willing to try it. I know that a lot of people are very hesitant about it. And some people are dabbling into hybrids and stuff, which, totally personal preference there, but I would personally caution against that, only because one of the big advantages of an electric vehicle is the total number of parts is way less, so points of failure is less. Fire hazards are way lower on an EV. I mean, that sounds counterintuitive, because you see the news out there, people say, oh, another Tesla caught on fire. That's just for clicks. I mean, if you look at the data, and there's plenty of data out there from insurance companies that have hard data on vehicle fires and what types of vehicles, a hybrid vehicle is the most likely vehicle to catch fire, period. And it's not even close. The next is gasoline vehicles, and in the far last is pure battery electric vehicles. So there's that. I just want to put that out there, because if you just listen to what you see on social media and even on the mainstream media, they're always wanting to put up these cases where some Tesla somewhere caught on fire, because it gets them the views and the clicks, and people like to watch those things. Anyway, I am just about back to the house, and as you can see, there was no intervention by me on that drive to or from the pharmacy. Again, it drove me there, it drove me back. I took over to go through the drive-through, and I'll take over to park at the house. But all the driving in between was done by it. And if you ever get on the interstate on a long road trip, it's like that the whole way. And I'm talking interstate interchanges, one interstate to the other, on ramps, off ramps. It'll do everything pretty much flawlessly. But anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. That'll help more people be able to see the content. And I hope you liked it. See ya. Hey, one more quick thing I'll show, since I am going to plug in tonight at the house to get ready for our trip tomorrow, is how easy it is to charge at home. So this is my home charger. So you basically just unhook the wall connector here. It looks like this, which is the same thing a supercharger looks like. Basically just come up here to the end. There's a charge port. Give it a little tap. Plug it straight in. And that's it. So right now, because we have cheaper rates at night after 9 o'clock, you'll see this blue light came on. So that tells you that you're connected properly. It turns green when the charge actually starts, but right now it's only 8:06. And my charge is set to only happen between 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. So you'll see the same thing on the charger itself. See this blue light? That tells you you're connected good, everything's working properly. Once it hits 9 o'clock, because of my pre-programmed charging times, as soon as 9 o'clock hits and those rates drop, it will start charging and it'll charge up to whatever preset limit that I have. So anyway, thanks a lot. See you guys.